I'm ready for war.
You're watching a Famicast video review of Assassin's Creed Odyssey Cloud version on the Nintendo Switch. I'm Danny Bivens, the reviewer of this game. By now, you've probably already read or watched one of the numerous reviews on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, with reviewers praising the controls, the action RPG elements, the deep combat, and the excellent open-world feel to the game. There's obviously a lot to like here in terms of story and gameplay. However, you'll be hard-pressed to find any outlets offering a review of the cloud version on Switch of the game and how it performs. There's a disappointingly good reason for that. The game is geo-locked to Japan. No worries. We're here to tell you all about how Assassin's Creed Odyssey performs on the Switch. The underlying tech for Odyssey comes from a Taiwan-based company called Ubitus. By utilizing high-quality performance and interactions rendered by Ubitus's GPU server, this streaming version of the game is now a reality on Nintendo system. According to the company, the release of the cloud version on Switch is the first time that a streaming version of a game has launched day and date with a retail release. Now, this isn't their first rodeo either. Earlier in the year, they helped bring Resident Evil 7 to the Switch via the cloud in Japan. Before that, the company was also responsible for numerous other cloud gaming solutions, including Dragon Quest X on 3DS, Final Fantasy XIII on Chromecast, and a few others. Even though they are relatively unheard of in the West, and quite frankly, just in general, Ubisoft has been busy over the years honing their cloud tech, and the results here with Odyssey are impressive. I've had a chance to test out the game with 3 different connection options: a wired connection, a Wi-Fi connection, and even over cellular. Just to note, all of the game footage that you're seeing here, unless otherwise indicated, was captured when I was hooked up via a wired connection. Now, with that out of the way, after booting up the client and getting into the game itself, you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner that there is a connectivity bar. Now, this remains on the screen at all times to show your signal strength. I was going through the menus to see if there's any way to turn this off, but apparently there's not. Generally speaking, no matter what connection method I use, the game looked the same visually. Honestly, looks pretty impressive. However, this game is a bit lacking in terms of textures. Details on the ground and on buildings are a little bit on the muddy side, and things like trees and grass sometimes look a bit blurry. It basically looks kind of like a slightly lower spec version of the game. Now, even with that said, considering this is running off the cloud and beaming straight to my Switch, that looks pretty impressive.
What's your plan? What course should
I spent a majority of my time playing Odyssey through a wired connection. The results here were pretty fantastic. The game ran super smooth, and I never really ran into any technical issues. Even over Wi-Fi, my experience has been relatively smooth. I did run into a few hiccups here and there, though. At times the game would stutter, and I was noticing some pretty noticeable input lag. You can see some examples of the stuttering here.
Alright, I'll kill your shark.
You'll skewer him.
You'll find him deep in the ruins of...
Careful! Do you know how many of his guards were there?
Oddly enough, this only happened within 48 hours of the launch of the game. Since then, I've had next to no issues, so I don't know what was going on there. Now, playing over cellular presented a serviceable experience, but there was some definite jumpiness that was apparent with the performance. It was pretty surprising that it actually worked at all, to be honest. Data speeds at my location in Japan are decent, but I didn't know they would be decent enough to run this. Playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey in handheld mode felt pretty good, and it ran pretty well. Echoing kind of what I said a little bit earlier, after the first 48 hours, I've had almost no issues with performance in both docked or handheld mode. It still is a shame that unless you're on a reliable Wi-Fi, you probably won't be playing this game outside of your home. In the same vein, for all Switch titles, the ability to swap between handheld and docked mode remains a feature that is both cool and practical. For Odyssey on the Switch, making this change during the middle of gameplay works too. Even when I went from handheld mode into docked mode to a wired connection, the game paused itself for a second and indicated that it was reconnecting to the server, and then, boom, I was right back in. It's obviously not quite as smooth as a game that's running natively on the Switch, but hey, it still works here. At this point, I'm about 20 hours into the game, and I'm really loving it. I like the characters, the combat, and these RPG elements. It's just Ubisoft hit another one out of the park here in terms of content. Now, a few years ago, if you were to tell me that the future of gaming will be tied to streaming games from the cloud, I probably would have called you crazy. The technology that we saw back then just wasn't there. But now, seeing Assassin's Creed Odyssey running on the Switch via the cloud, here in Japan only, I'm actually kind of a believer now. The only real shame is that unless you have a decent cellular provider that offers a decent data plan and network speeds, you can't really play this one on the go. Regardless, cloud provider Ubitus continues to show how and why cloud-based gaming can work. Final score for Assassin's Creed Odyssey cloud version on Switch based on performance, 9 out of 10. Keep it locked here to the Famicast for more Japan-exclusive videos, podcasts, reviews, and a whole lot more. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and thank you for watching.